They say money doesn't buy happiness, but I've learned something darker. It buys silence when the world screams in panic. The richest people don't fear losing money the way the rest of us do. They play with risk like it's oxygen. They see loss not as a threat, but as an opportunity disguised in chaos. And that's the paradox I want to talk to you about today, the wealth paradox, the strange, almost unhuman way the rich think about loss. Because here's the truth, if you don't rewire your mind around loss, you'll never be free. You'll keep chasing money, but money will keep running away from you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt your stomach twist when your account balance dropped? That heat in your chest, that anxiety, that invisible shame? That fear of being broke, of starting again, of not having enough? That's what keeps most people poor. It's not the lack of money that traps us, it's the fear of losing it. And that's exactly where the rich win before the game even begins. Because while you're trying not to lose, they're playing to win. But how did they get this mindset? Were they born with it? Or did something happen along the way that rewired how they see pain, failure, and loss? Stay with me till the end of this video, because we're going to uncover the hidden psychology that separates millionaires from the masses. You're going to see why they can lose millions and sleep peacefully, while some people lose $50 and spiral into anxiety. You'll discover the ancient and modern roots of the wealth paradox, and how empires, investors, and ordinary people either mastered loss or were destroyed by it. And somewhere in all this, you'll see yourself. Because this story isn't about them. It's about you. Welcome to FINAPSYHISTOry, where money meets mind. Here, we don't just talk about money. We dissect its psychology. We explore why we earn, why we spend, why we fear, and why some people win while others lose everything. In this channel, we connect ancient wealth stories, modern financial systems, and the secrets of human behavior to teach you how to outsmart your wallet. So before we dive deeper, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Because every like, comment, and share tells YouTube that you value knowledge over noise, and that helps us keep creating new videos for you 3 times a week. Now, let's get into it. The story of the wealth paradox begins centuries ago, long before Bitcoin, Wall Street, or hedge funds. It began with empires built on gold, trade, and fear. Ancient merchants understood something the average person didn't. That risk was the heartbeat of wealth. A Phoenician trader could send his entire fortune across a dangerous sea, knowing one storm could erase his life's work. But he did it anyway. Why? Because he knew that fear paralyzes, and courage compounds. Every empire that dominated history, Rome, Venice, the British Empire, mastered one thing, calculated loss. They accepted that to win in the long game, you had to be willing to bleed in the short one. Fast forward to the modern world, and that same psychology still rules. The difference? Now the losses are digital, not physical. The wealthy invest millions knowing they could vanish overnight. They know markets crash, currencies collapse, and opportunities fade. But here's the twist, they don't see loss as losing. They see it as information. Data. Feedback. Proof that they are in the game. That's why when you panic sell your stocks during a crash, they buy them. When you avoid risk, they embrace it. When you fear uncertainty, they feed on it. Here's something few will tell you. The fear of loss is more powerful than the desire for gain. Psychologists call it loss aversion. It's hardwired in our brain. Studies show that losing $100 hurts twice as much as gaining $100 feels good. Think about that. You'd rather avoid losing than chase winning, even if that means you stay exactly where you are. And that's how the system controls you. But the rich have hacked this bias. They've trained their minds to detach emotionally from money. To them, money isn't safety, it's a tool, a soldier in the battlefield of opportunity. They know that every loss contains a seed of wisdom, and every failure carries data that no book can teach. They think long-term. While the average person plays defense with a monthly paycheck, the wealthy play offense with decades. Now, let me tell you a story. In 2008, when the world was falling apart, when millions were losing jobs, homes, and hope, a small group of investors didn't panic. They watched the chaos, calculated the pattern, and made decisions others were too afraid to make. They bought when everyone sold. They invested when the headlines screamed, collapse. And within years, their names were written in gold. Not because they were luckier or smarter, but because they thought differently about loss. They didn't run from it. They ran toward it, because they understood one truth. Wealth isn't built by avoiding pain, it's built by mastering it. Let's go deeper. Imagine you have 2 people. Both start with $10,000. One invests in fear, the other in courage. The first one saves every penny, afraid to lose. The second risks it, learns, fails, but tries again. Fast forward 10 years, who's richer? The first one has maybe $12,000 saved, scared to touch it. The second? Maybe he lost 5 times. But the 6th time, he built something that multiplied his returns tenfold. That's the paradox. You win more when you accept that losing is part of the game. The rich don't attach emotion to numbers. They attach emotion to vision. They don't obsess over what they could lose today, but over what they could build tomorrow. They've trained their psychology through repetition, reflection, and risk. And this is where most people fail. Because they think being safe is being smart. But in finance, safety is often the biggest risk. Inflation eats savings. Fear kills innovation. Comfort suffocates potential. Let's travel back again, to 1720, the South Sea Bubble. One of the greatest financial scams in British history. It destroyed fortunes, reputations, and the illusion that wealth was permanent. People invested blindly, driven by greed and fear of missing out. They didn't understand the rules of risk. When the bubble burst, thousands lost everything. But a few, just a few, walked away richer. How? They saw the storm coming. They studied patterns, detached emotions, and made decisions while others drowned in panic. That's the mindset we're talking about today, the ability to stand calm when the crowd loses its mind. This is what separates the rich from the rest. Their relationship with loss isn't emotional, it's strategic. They don't cry over money, they analyze it. They don't call themselves victims, they become students of the game. And that's what you need to become too. A student of loss. Because if you can handle losing, you're already ahead of 90% of people. There's a reason Warren Buffett once said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." It's not about greed. It's about control, emotional control. The wealth paradox is not a secret formula or hidden strategy. It's a psychological code, the ability to stay rational in an irrational world. Now, I want to tell you something uncomfortable. You will lose. Everyone does. You'll lose money, friends, time, energy, chances. The difference between you and the wealthy isn't the loss, it's what you do next. Will you panic and quit, or pause and learn? Will you let loss define you, or refine you? Look at any great fortune, and behind it, you'll find a history of losses. Rockefeller failed in oil before becoming the richest man alive. Elon Musk nearly went bankrupt funding Tesla and SpaceX at the same time. Oprah was fired from her first job. But they all understood the paradox. The more you can lose without breaking, the more unstoppable you become. Let's bring it back to you. How do you apply this? Start small. Reframe every financial loss as tuition. A lesson you paid for. You lost $100 in a bad investment? Good, that's your training fee. You trusted the wrong partner? Good, that's your filter for the next one. Every mistake brings clarity, and clarity compounds into wisdom. But this is the hardest part. You must detach your self-worth from your net worth. The rich don't think, "I am my money." They think, "I control money." Because when your identity depends on your balance, every dip feels like death. And you'll never make bold moves from fear. You'll only play not to lose. Money responds to emotion. If you chase it with fear, it runs. If you approach it with clarity, it follows. That's why mastering loss is the gateway to financial peace. It's not about having millions. It's about not needing millions to feel safe. In psychology, there's a term called resilience tolerance. It measures how much emotional pain you can handle before breaking. The wealthy have built this muscle through exposure. They've lost and rebuilt, failed and adjusted, thousands of times. The average person experiences one loss and gives up. The rich experience 100 and grow stronger. That's why money seems to flow to them, because they've learned to stay calm in chaos. But here's the part they don't teach in schools or financial courses. Emotional intelligence creates financial intelligence. You can read every investment book, take every course, but if your emotions control your decisions, you'll sabotage yourself. That's why most lottery winners end up broke, not because they're unlucky, but because they never learned how to lose. So what can you do today? First, track your emotional reactions to money. Notice when you feel fear, shame, guilt, or anxiety. Don't judge it, study it. Second, start exposing yourself to small, calculated risks. Invest, test, try. Fail cheap and fast. And third, study the psychology of the rich, not their lifestyle, but their thinking. Because wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the bank. Remember, the wealth paradox isn't about avoiding pain, it's about transforming it. The richest people think differently about loss because they've learned the hidden rule of money. You can't control outcomes, but you can control your reaction. Now, let's summarize 3 powerful lessons from this entire video. First, loss is not your enemy. It's your mentor. Every time you lose, you gain data. Use it. Don't waste it on self-pity. Second, emotional detachment is power. The moment you stop letting money dictate your emotions, you start controlling your destiny. Third, fear is expensive. Every decision made from fear costs you opportunities, growth, and time. Learn to act from logic, not emotion. If you take these 3 lessons seriously, your financial reality will never be the same. You'll stop panicking during downturns. You'll stop chasing trends. You'll start thinking like the 1%, calm, calculated, and courageous. And before you go, let me ask you one question. What's your relationship with loss? Do you fear it, or do you study it? Because how you answer that question determines where your next 10 years will go. If this video resonated with you, take a second to subscribe to FINAPSYHISTORY, where money meets mind. Every week, we decode the hidden psychology behind wealth, risk, and human behavior. Like this video to help YouTube spread it to more people who need it. Comment below what part hit you the hardest, and share it with one friend who needs to stop fearing loss and start thinking like the rich. This is FINAPSYHISTORY, where we turn the pain of the past into the profit of the future. Every loss counts. Every decision shapes your destiny. See you in the next video, and remember, the mind builds the money, not the other way around.